Hi, everybody. Gene here. Welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, where every single week we answer the most common and uncommon questions about tapping and EFT so you can eliminate self-sabotage and take the action that you want. As I was planning out content for this week and the next coming weeks, I realized the fact that we are actually in part 3 of a 7-part series, and I didn't realize that's what was going on. What we are in the middle of, just because the way that I've been creating content, is we have been going over and will be going over what I call fundamental dispositions. And fundamental dispositions are ways that we understand, or at least the way I understand, the healing and transformation process. And this is kind of where you go from level 1 to level 2 in your tapping. When we learn the basics of tapping, stuff comes up, we're able to respond to it. When we start understanding these dispositions, it gives us the opportunity to understand problems and understand healing in a different way. And so starting back in episode 452 and episode 454, we covered 2 of those dispositions. We're going to do that again this week, and in 458, 460, 462, and 464, we're going to be covering a bunch more. So if you go into the show notes and you click on the link for fundamental dispositions, you'll actually take you to where all of those are as we are building that out. But as you master these, it's going to make a real difference in the way that you see healing, which will make you be able to get more out of your tapping practice, move quicker so that you can use tapping to eliminate that self-sabotage and take the action that you want. So enjoy part 3 of this series. This is Gene Montrestelling. Welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 456, originally aired May 13th, 2020. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting to listen to this. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. Today, we're going to talk about the thing that my clients like tapping on the least, and the thing that I think is one of the most important things for us to tap on. Before we do that, 2 reminders. The first is we have a free 10-part guide to helping you to eliminate self-sabotage. To get that, all you need to do is go to tappingqa.com, click on the big blue button, and every single day over the course of the next 10 days, we will send you another part. They're little bite-sized chunks, which lets you start your day or whenever you indulge in them, and just add to your tapping so that you can eliminate that self-sabotage and take the action that you want. It's absolutely free. Or if you happen to be listening to this right now in the website, if you go open that right-hand column, there's a blue button there. Click on that, and we will make sure that you get those 10 parts right away. The second thing I wanted to do is I wanted to thank all of our amazing supporters. This week, I wanted to thank specifically Julia. Julia is the most recent supporter of the Tapping Q&A podcast. All of the supporters receive amazing bonuses every single month. Some of them even receive special discounted time with me in a one-on-one fashion. If you'd like to support the podcast so that we can keep producing it in a way that it can be sent all over the world absolutely free of charge and receive some of those bonuses as well, all you need to do is go to tappingqa.com/support. Last week, I was working with one of my clients, and after we did a round of tapping, she asked, why do we keep tapping on that every single time? Do you see something in me that makes you think that we need to be tapping on this particular issue? And I reassured her that it wasn't something that was about her. I wasn't reading anything specific, but instead, it was something that I think is really fundamental when we're doing this sort of work. And so then this week, on Monday and on Tuesday, I had 2 different clients bristle at and respond to the exact same thing, wondering why we had to keep doing it. And, I hate tapping on that particular part. And the phrase that we were tapping on was, I give myself permission to be easy and gentle with myself. And one of the reasons why this shows up so much in my work with clients is because on a fundamental level, I think this is a primary part of our work. And when I say our work, I mean our work as being humans and navigating our day and actualizing ourselves and growing in who we want to be. For me, the most difficult place or the biggest obstacle I put up to my ability to move forward is getting hung up in my past choices and deciding that I need to punish myself or relive them or relitigate them or hold myself to a higher standard. And it makes sense. The reason why we are so hard on ourselves is because we know what we are capable of. Now, just because we are capable of something, it doesn't mean we actualize it and we do it all the time. Oftentimes what we do is we take our best efforts, like our absolute best at doing something or something very near our best, and that now becomes our standard. And what's really interesting is the thing that I do in an average way, which is my typical standard, is something that I do half of the time or better. But when we create a standard for ourselves, very rarely are we picking the average outcome. That we want all of the things that we do to be above average. We want them to be exceptional. The problem is everything can't be exceptional. Everything can't be above average. Otherwise, the average would just change. And so because we recognize what is possible, we have unrealistic expectations. And when we don't live up to those capabilities, we are hard on ourselves. The second reason why we're so hard on ourselves is we understand our intention. And it's not my intention for what I want to achieve, but my intention in the moment. And when I'm taking action, sometimes my intention and my emotional state is just to survive. It's not to thrive. That as I'm doing something that's really difficult, I'm crossing my fingers and toes and gritting my teeth and hoping I just get through it. But in the process of doing that, I then judge the fact that I didn't show up fully and powerfully. And the reality is, in many circumstances, it's about being successful. It's not about being successful and powerful. I can remember the very first time I offered anything to my mailing list that was a tapping resource that was more than $9. I think it was a $167 product. And I can remember sitting in a Starbucks, finishing up the email, sending the email to my mailing list. And the instant I hit send, I slammed the computer shut and I went for a 90-minute walk. And that's not hyperbole. I really did. Because I was so afraid the way my audience, my readers were going to respond to me asking for what at the time felt like so much money for a tapping product. And when I got home, I had made a couple of sales and a couple of people had unsubscribed, but there wasn't the vitriol I expected. And so it turned out to be a really successful thing. And so even though I was super scared when I was doing it and I wasn't standing in my power, now don't get me wrong, I want to stand in my power as much as possible. But I got the result that I wanted because I took the action that I wanted, even if it was imperfectly. But when I'm judging myself, again, I judge myself to the standard of what is the best of my capability and how I stand in my power and how I stand in my courage. So first I beat myself up because I'm not doing it perfectly or living up to what is the best I can do. Secondly, I can beat myself up for the intention that is my energy as I am taking that action. The third reason why it's hard for us to be gentle with ourselves is we just expect things to work out. Very rarely when we are working on a plan, do we think, well, there is an 80% chance it's going to work out, a 20% chance it's not going to work out, so I need to make contingency plans to be ready for that 20%. We believe emotionally when it comes to statistics and probability, if something is more than a 50% chance, if it doesn't happen, then we're really, really disappointed because it was better than half it was going to happen. But a simple understanding of mathematics means that even if something is 60% possible, I could do it 4 times in a row and fail before I had 6 successes. It doesn't necessarily mean, even if we knew the statistics of something, that they even out in this nice distribution. It's not like when you flip a coin, it goes heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, tails. Over a long period of time is when we have an outcome. that when you're flipping a coin, if you flip a coin 100 times over the course of that 100 times, it's statistically probable that you're going to have 7 times in a row where it's heads 7 in a row or tails 7 in a row. And so if it's a better than 50% chance, we expect it's going to work out. And it's great that we're hopeful in that way. But if it doesn't work out, even if there was a 40% chance it wasn't going to work in our favor, we beat ourselves up because we didn't get what we think what was going on. The fourth reason why it's really hard for us to be gentle with ourselves is that when we are gentle with ourselves, it feels like we're letting ourselves off the hook. It means that we're not taking responsibility, that we're just taking this blasé attitude towards it. And the last reason is it feels like it's giving us permission to do again. And it's tied very much to that last one, that if I let myself off the hook and I'm gentle with myself, then it doesn't really matter what I do. And I'm teaching myself, or at least it feels, I'm teaching myself to believe that if I'm gentle with myself now, then I'm going to be in a situation in the future where I don't try because I know I'm going to let myself off the hook. In reality, when we are not gentle with ourselves, when we are not gentle with our past choices, what we are doing instead is we are holding ourselves prisoner to the past as we relive and we relitigate those old choices, those old actions, and those old outcomes. And in the process of doing that, we make it difficult, if not impossible, to be fully present in this moment, trying to make good, thoughtful decisions. Being gentle with ourselves is understanding the context which something is happening within. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to get into this where we judge our past selves so harshly because we're looking at it from our today eyes. And when I look back in hindsight, it's obvious all the things that could have gone wrong because they did, and I can see them. Stepping into it, I couldn't have seen them. I might have guessed some of them, but even it was only probable that some of those things might have gone wrong. And so for me, giving myself permission to be gentle with myself and gentle with my past choices means I'm still learning the lessons, means I'm still taking responsibility for what I did in the past, but instead, I'm giving myself permission to be fully present in this moment and not a prisoner to the past moment. I am putting the past where it belongs, in the past, by letting it go. I'm able to look at a past instance and go, oh, I don't like the way it worked out. And boy, I made some really bad choices and I really didn't like engaging with that person. But that's it. It's a statement of fact. It's no more a statement of fact that I am right now wearing black jeans. It's just a statement of fact that I can learn from and I can take responsibility for, but I don't need to be caught within. And so, if you are struggling with being gentle with yourself, there's a couple of things we can do. The first is I tap on myself to be gentle with myself about not being gentle with myself. And I know how silly that sounds, but it actually works. Try it right now. Tap on the side of your hand and tap on your collarbone. I give myself permission to be gentle with myself over the fact that I'm not gentle with myself. The second thing we can do is we can name all of the reasons why it's hard for me to be gentle with myself. It's hard for me to be gentle with myself because I know what I'm capable of. It's hard for me to be gentle with myself because I know what my intention and my energy was in that moment. It's hard for me to be gentle with myself because I wanted to work out so well and it didn't. It's hard for me to be gentle with myself because when I'm gentle with myself, it feels like I'm letting myself off the hook. It's hard for me to be gentle with myself because when I'm gentle with myself, I feel like I'm giving myself permission to not give full effort in the future. So all I did was I just went through those reasons, the 5 reasons we talked about, and just stated them out loud clearly and owned them. And then the next piece of it is I give myself permission to be gentle with myself. When I'm gentle with myself, I can learn from my past. When I'm gentle with myself, I can take responsibility for what is in the past. But when I'm gentle with myself, I'm leaving the past in the past. When I am gentle with myself, I am being fully present in this moment and not living in that moment so that I can make the most of this moment. When I'm gentle with myself, I don't expect myself to be perfect in this moment, but can still expect myself to show up as fully as I can in this moment. When I'm gentle with myself, I give myself permission to be human, which means I'm giving myself permission to be fallible, which means I give myself permission to be imperfect, which means I give myself permission to be in process. I give myself permission to be gentle with myself, even when I have a hard time being gentle with myself. I give myself permission to be gentle with myself about the fact that I struggle with being gentle with myself. If you are able to take that and do that at the beginning of a tapping session or the middle of the tapping session or the end of the tapping session, what you're going to do is you're going to feel yourself soften. And not soften in a way where we are losing power, but softening in a way where we can see ourselves where we are, who we are, truly, imperfectly, and fully human. And then, at least for me, then and only then can I truly be open to great transformation. Then and only then can I be truly open for what I am capable of growing into, because I'm not imprisoned. I'm not trapped. I'm not relitigating the past. Again, I learn. Again, I take responsibility, but I leave the past where it belongs, in the past. I get to be in this moment, seeing myself clearly in my gifts, my talents, my struggles, my imperfection. And in doing that, I now have the opportunity to go, great, what do I want to grow into next? What do I want to release now? What is the healing that is in front of me? And if I do that, then the other work becomes much more trivial, becomes much easier. Because for me, being gentle with myself is my work. And when I say it is my work, like I said at the top of the show, it is my work of being human. It is in that place I get to be fully human and fully alive and experience the richness of transformation. So those are my reflections on the struggle of being gentle with ourselves and why I think it's so important for me. And I hope that there is something inside of that that resonates with you. I would really encourage you to check out the Fundamental Disposition series. Like I said, this is number 3, even though I didn't realize there's a recording episode at 1 and 2. And so in addition to these showing up in the regular podcast feed, I'm going to have a special page on the website where you can just see these fundamental dispositions. If you know someone in your life who could use this as a disposition, please pass it along. The easiest way for someone to find a new resource is from the recommendation of a friend. And as you can tell, this is something that I really believe in, that this is truly fundamental to transformation in the human experience. So please, please, please pass it along. Don't spam your inbox and send it to everybody in the world, but you might know 1 or 2 people who this becomes something that is fortifying and strengthening for them in their day to day. If you haven't done so, I'd also encourage you to subscribe to the podcast. In podcasting parlance, subscribe is always free. It's not like Netflix or Disney Plus or Hulu or any of those other services where you're actually paying to subscribe. It's free. You can subscribe to the podcast in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast. If you're listening in Google Podcast, let me know. Spotify, Pandora. Sometimes it says subscribe. Sometimes it says follow. Whatever the button is, after you search for Tapping Q&A, click on that button. That way, as each new episode comes out, you don't miss them. If you have a question or a comment or someone you'd like us to interview once we finish up this series on the fundamental dispositions, I'm going to roll out a bunch of interviews. I actually sent a bunch of emails today asking some of my favorite people to sit down so we could do an interview. But I would love to hear your recommendations, your thoughts, who I should talk to, what are the topics we should cover to help you to continue your transformational journey and to eliminate your self-sabotage. Questions, comments, and those recommendations can always be sent Gene, Gene, at tappingqa.com, or you can just click on that contact link in the website. Or if you've downloaded the Tapping Q&A app, just click on the contact link in there. We've just updated another 20 tapping scripts into the Tapping Q&A app as you are downloading this. So basically all the tap alongs from the podcast, you can find the audios, but you also go into the text section and just tap along without having to hit play. Absolutely free. The iOS App Store or the Android App Store, search Tapping Q&A. For the Tapping Q&A podcast, this is Gene Montrestelli. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. The Tapping Q&A podcast is copyright Gene Montrestelli Tapping Q&A. All views expressed by guests are those of the guests and not necessarily of Gene Montrestelli and Tapping Q&A.